Sports Talk Chicago. Here for John Zaglua. Great to be back here with all of you. John Meadows directing and producing. We are on all of our great radio and TV affiliates across Illinois and Indiana. WROK 101.1 Peoria Sports Radio. 98.3 The Live, WKAN, 105.5 The Ticket, ACTV, JED, TBWJOB, and Cities 92.9 Talk FM. We appreciate all of our great friends on the STC Syndication Network. You can follow us all over at Sports Talk Chicago. If you want to watch the program, subscribe on YouTube at Sports Talk Chicago. Give us a like there as well. If you miss any part of today's show, don't worry. We podcast it. Go to sportstalkchicago.com or any of your favorite podcasting platforms. You can listen segment by segment or listen to the whole thing in one swoop. Got a long car ride, you got things you need to take care of. Bring us with you. Listen to us in your car or on your smart speakers inside your homes. Our guest is back with us for another segment. He is the author of Tell Me a Story I Don't Know. He's a sports media veteran of 40-plus years. George Ofman is here. We talked a lot of Bears in segment one, which is okay. We needed to get a lot of things out there on the table. But I want to start dedicating this second segment here, George, to baseball, Cubs, and White Sox. It's been a tale of two different teams to start off this season. Let's start with the White Sox. You mentioned them a couple of times in the last segment. I think it's been an utter disaster so far. What's your take on their situation?
Well, I mean, let's take a look at what kind of talent they have before you could say it's an utter disaster. It was an utter disaster last year. It's not expected to be a whole lot better, but it all depends on some of their pitchers that they brought. Garrett Crochet has just been absolutely lights out. And usually when you see a guy who is a fastball pitcher, and he throws more than just the fastball, but he can really bring it. A big strikeout guy like that's going to throw a lot of pitches. He hasn't. He hasn't done that in either start. I went, 7 innings for both starts? Really? That's stunning in this day and age, especially for a guy who hasn't started a major league game. He's been great. And the win that they had last night against the Braves was encouraging. That was a wonderful game. I'm still not sold on Michael Kopech. Sorry. I want to see more of that before I think that this head case can actually be somebody good in the bullpen. But think about this for a minute. I mean, Eloy Jimenez is injured, which is really not a big surprise at all. How long he's going to be out remains to be seen. It's day-to-day with him, but it's going to be day-to-day and week-to-week as you go along. He's got an option next year. They're not going to pick it up. He's going to be gone. Yohan Moncada's making $24 million this year. He's got an option next year. He's going to be gone. So you're not going to be left with a whole lot. And Chris Getz, to his credit, is trying to put together what he can, cobble together a Major League Baseball team. And it's going to be even tougher after this season when he loses whatever bats he's going to lose. They're a better defensive team. Yes, that was a smart move to make. Who figured that Paul DeYoung would hit a home run to basically win last night's game? But it's a team that's got such a long way to go. I mean, they're just in the beginning of a teardown again. The White Sox are going to be a team that's probably going to lose anywhere between 90, 95, and 100 games for at least the next 3 years. That on top of the White Sox also wanting a new facility. Why? I don't know. Because their ballpark is only 32-plus years old. I was there opening day, 1991. It's a really, really nice facility. But Jerry Reinsdorf said, hey, this is great. We don't pay a lot. Basically barely pay any rent. But where did they build it? They built it in the same place where there's nothing to do afterwards and nothing to do beforehand. So what does he want? He wants a ballpark downtown, pretty much this, in that 78 lot. Where they could build shops and restaurants and bars, and I wouldn't give him a penny. Now you've added Mike Clevenger, and I think David Haas said it right on the score. They're tone deaf. The White Sox are tone deaf. They seem to make the same mistakes or different mistakes over and over and over again, and they have really, really angered, if not destroyed, a fan base. I mean, why would you want to be a fan of a club that keeps slapping you in the face the way the White Sox and Jerry Reinsdorf have? So it's not a great situation. I'm going to give Chris Getz time. I want to see how he puts this thing together. But let's understand, he was the guy in charge of the Birmingham project, and that was not exactly what you call a success.
How did you react to the White Sox not having a first base coach the other day?
what I liked about it was I see Dean pointing out last night that he came running out of the dugout, tucking his pants in. Oh no, he was looking at film. No, he wasn't. He was in the John. Come on. Listen, if you just say the truth and say, oh look, he was in the facility, it's okay. It's fine. But I mean, the Braves broadcast, what they say, we're watching not a minor league team. What was it? A little league team. That's a pretty big insult, but I thought it was very funny.
I think it is symbolic of how long the White Sox have to go until they're going to be relevant or until they're going to be winning again.
Yeah, really. That's true.
You know, I don't know. I mean, they have some good pieces, like you said. Garrett Crochet, I think, has been outstanding. If there's an MVP that we could award in 2 weeks of the season, it would certainly be him. So I think there's some smaller pieces that over time you could build around. But unfortunately, as you mentioned, we're going to be talking about years again of consistent losing. I mean, do you think that Chris Getz could be the guy to make it better? Because this has been like almost a 15, 20-year rebuild, essentially.
Well, it started in, in 15 or 16 when they started that teardown. And, I thought, honestly, Rick Hahn made some really good moves. They had a pretty good baseball team. The problem is they didn't have a great defensive team, but they could hit the ball, and they had some really good pitching. And, they made the playoffs. They won 91 games stunningly under Tony La Russa, and then everything caved in, totally caved in. I mean, they were, right up there with the biggest disappointment in baseball, along with the New York Mets, who continue to be a giant disappointment in baseball, and the San Diego Padres. The problem is that, those teams could possibly move forward. The White Sox are only going to be taking steps back. So obviously he has to put together a pitching staff, and he's looking at guys like Flexen, and he's looking at Fetty, who had a nice year in Korea, and Soroka, who's trying to build back his career. Now they brought Clevenger back, which is just I just do not understand why you did that, other than the fact that you don't think you have enough pitching. The bottom line is if you're a diehard White Sox fan, you're going to have to survive through all of this year, next year, the year after that. Who do they have in the minor leagues? There's Colson Montgomery, but they don't even have a good minor league system. The Cubs have a much better minor league system going right now, and they already have a pretty good team to begin with.
Yeah, what do you think about the Cubs? I know they started off 0-2. They're now 3-2, at least as of this taping. Right. I think they're in a good position.
Well, obviously, they lost Steele, unfortunately, their ace, who probably will not pitch until the first or second week of May. Tyone has still not pitched. He's really not a number two. They don't have one of those. So they're going to struggle in that department. But their offense is really good, and so is their defense. As long as Christopher Morel really doesn't play third base. I've said this now, and I'm going to predict he is going to be the Cubs' number one offensive player this year. If he gets 550 at-bats, he's going to hit 40 home runs and drive more than 100 runs. He is an electric, exciting player who's gotten to be a smarter offensive player, and he's only, 25 years old. But they've got a really good defensive team, but they still want to give this experiment at third base, and I'm not sure I understand why, because he really can't play third base. He's better off being what Eloy Jimenez should be for the White Sox, and that is a full-time DH. Offensively, they've got the power. Believe me, if you've got Bellinger hitting 25 or more homers, and Ian Happ maybe hitting 20, and your right fielder, if he's able to play Suzuki for a whole season, can hit 25, and you've got Morel, they've got enough offense. It's really going to be when Steele comes back, can Tyone find a little magic again, because the rest of that staff is young and not tried yet. And, as far as the youngster they brought up, Brown, I'm going to just throw out that first game. He's going to be with them for the time being, and we'll see whether or not he's the type of guy that's going to mature very quickly. Can they win the division? Yes, but it's going to depend on how they hold on without Steele. The Brewers are off to a pretty good start. The Reds are off to a decent start. How about the Pirates? Pirates have a very exciting team. You know, people don't recall back in 2015 because the Pirates have to continue to rebuild over and over again because they can't keep their players. But remember 2015 when the Cubs won the National League? They beat the Pirates. The Cubs won 97 games. The Pirates won 98, and the Cardinals won 100. And the Cubs beat them. And then the Pirates went down. Right now, the Pirates have some very good young pitching. They've got some pretty good offense. That's a very exciting baseball team. As for the Marlins, their season's over. I think they're 0-7 now.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you know, they got Tim Anderson down there, so I guess Tim Anderson could not get out of mediocrity. He just goes to a different team, and it happens again and again and again for him.
And Berger's there, too.
He is there, too.
Terrific player, but they've had tremendous injuries to their pitching staff, and so that this has been a real disaster for them.
I don't want to call this year a failure if the Cubs don't win the division, but I mean, I would assume they at least need to make the playoffs, right? Based on what they did this offseason, they bring in Craig Counsell, they spend some money. Yeah. You have to think playoffs at minimum should be the expectation.
Well, I would think so. And I would think that if you brought it, if you brought in Craig Counsell, you've got to say, okay, if he's this good of a manager in the regular season, he's worth at least 4 wins. I just can't understand how people say, well, the National League Central, the team that wins the division could win it with 83 or 84 wins. Sorry, that doesn't happen, and it's not going to happen in the American League Central as well. Somebody's going to win at least 88 to 90 games because that's pretty much what always happens. But in that division, it's likely the only way to make the playoffs is to win the division because your wild cards can be coming from the National League West. You know, and in the East, you still have the Phillies as a possibility. The Mets are off to a lousy start. So I think that the only team that's going to come out of the Central is going to be the team that wins the division. And yes, the Cubs have the ammunition. It's the pitching and whether or not they can hold on during the course of the time that steal us out. Assad was really good yesterday. Let's remember they are playing the Colorado Rockies, who are about as a minor league team as the White Sox are. But listen, these are the teams you got to play. Wait until this weekend. The Dodgers are here. So we're going to see, you know, how that works on the north side of town.
George Ofman still here with us on Sports Talk Chicago, author of Tell Me a Story I Don't Know, and a 40-plus year sports media veteran. George, quickly, I do want to talk about the Bulls. They clinched a spot in the play-in tournament. We should be celebrating, right?
Celebrating with what, a glass of milk?
What do you think about their season?
Their season is basically a hamster in a cage. It's going around and around and around, and it's going to be a disaster. It's really unfortunate because way back, I think it was in the 80s, Jerry Reinsdorf declared, I do not want to be the Milwaukee Bucks, who are basically a 500 team. And that's exactly what the Bulls are going to be. That doesn't matter if they finish 9th or 10th. And they win the playoff series against Atlanta, they're going to lose the first round either 4 games to none or 5 or 4 games to 1, whatever the case may be. Then you have the offseason. Are they going to re-sign DeMar DeRozan? I think they shouldn't, but they probably will because they need to put fannies in the seats so that they have an exciting, competitive team that'll be basically 500 next year. What do they have? Okay, DeMar DeRozan's a terrific player. You're stuck with Vucevic. I hate to say that, stuck with Vucevic. Kobe White's really been good. He's kind of been slowed lately, but he's been really good. He's been a revelation for the season. Ayo Dosunmu's playing real well. And, you know, you have a defensive player who knows if he's going to be here next year as well. The rest of it, Patrick Williams, a bust. And now you have to figure out, is Zach LaVine going to be playing here next year? The answer is likely yes, because I don't see any way that you're going to be able to trade him in the offseason because he's coming off of knee surgery and he's got a giant bill that has to be paid. So I just don't see the Bulls going anywhere but like just straight, 500. That's it. They're not a championship caliber team. They're not going to be a championship caliber team. And no major free agent's going to come to join them because they know they're just not good enough.
And George, question here before we finish up as well. Update us on what you're up to. I know the book that came out late last year. Now that's been going well. What's going on with you?
Me, I'm playing a lot of tennis.
That's nice too.
It is where I play at this place called McFettridge. I started playing there in 1983, and I'm still playing tennis. Listen, I am what you would call at age 70, not retired, but unemployed, and still looking and still wanting to stay vibrant in the business. But I understand it's not easy. So I'm still out there. I am the free agent, okay? But I'm not demanding a multi-year contract. I'm not demanding giant money. I don't have an agent. I should call Scott Boras. That might not be a bad idea, and see what I can do. But I'm out there. But listen, I'm having a good time. Life is very interesting. It's a lot of fun. So we'll see what happens, John. That's just it's the nature of life. And, I've gotten to that stage now that, I've been doing this now for 50 years. And I started in 1974, and here we are in 2024. Time has gone really fast. Hey, you've been doing this now for 10 years, haven't you?
Yeah, 10 years. That's right.
How about that? How about that? Time flies. You started when you were 4 years old.
Right. And now I'm 14.
Yeah, see? But the funny thing is it does go fast. You turn your head and it's like, whoa, really? Seriously? But, we'll see what happens. I still have a very positive take that eventually I'll land somewhere.
Well, everybody, make sure you check out George's new book, too. Tell Me a Story I Don't Know. It was a podcast. It was, I'd say, a very successful podcast. He turned it into a book. You can find it anywhere you get your books, on Amazon as well. George, always appreciate the time, my friend. Thanks for coming on, and we're looking forward to talking again soon, too.
Always my pleasure, John. Thanks.